On today's Solo Sunday Wrestling News, a WWE legend teases a big ol' return, and more information on Daniel Bryan's free agency, why this WWE Star SmackDown debut did not happen this week, and MJF talks potentially signing for WWE in the future. Hello everyone, like I just said, it is Solo Sunday. I'm back once again. It's your boy Gareth from WhatCulture Wrestling, and as always, it just seems to happen every single Sunday. We've got so much news that I just need to tell you about. It's bursting. I feel like that person in Alien when it comes out of his chest, but instead of a big disgusting alien, it's news. Ha! So now I'm finished with weird sci-fi references. The first big thing we need to speak about is, well, it's a post which might mean nothing to some people, but it might mean everything to others because it's a typical cryptic, make it up as you go along John Cena Instagram post. And this time, obviously, if you follow John Cena on Instagram, you'll see that he just posts very random things. He just seems to have a great old time. He probably chuckles to himself going, there's a chicken, everyone's going to think I'm obsessed with chickens. Now, it's just very odd. But this time, he posted a picture of the WWE logo, and now cue every single person on the internet going crazy, being like, he's coming back, he's going to have a big match against Karrion Kross because they've been teasing it recently, that's going to happen. So yeah, that's pretty much the extent of this entire story. It's just he posted a WWE logo on Instagram, and because it's John Cena and he seems to just do things like this, and everything's got a purpose with John Cena's Instagram. We just don't know what it is yet. A lot of people just assuming that he's probably going to come back. At this point, don't forget, he is currently filming in Vancouver for the Peacemaker spin-off from the Suicide Squad. They're going to do like a HBO series, an 8-episode series of that, even though the Suicide Squad has not come out yet, but they must have a lot of faith in him, and I don't blame him because Mr. John Cena is incredible. He's doing very well in his acting career, so this could potentially maybe be something after Peacemaker. Once he's finished with that, he could maybe transition back into WWE for a short period of time. At this point, there is literally no concrete information on this other than the fact that John Cena has gone on Instagram and said, haha, WWE logo, have some of that. But something we do have a bit more, let's say, solid information on is the situation right now regarding Daniel Bryan. Obviously, he technically left WWE quite recently. His contract ended and he just kind of quietly wandered out of the company. It was quite surreal, but we've now been updated according to PW Insider about just WWE's approach to Bryan at this time. It's distinctly different to another indie darling when he left in 2014, and we'll go into that. But they're saying that WWE is not held back on mentioning Bryan on their programming despite him not officially having a new contract. And if you will remember, like when CM Punk, that's the guy I'm talking about here, that's the reference, when he left, it was quite a different approach. They completely banned anybody saying the name CM Punk. They just didn't want to bring him up. They didn't want to draw attention to the fact that he just left, and it was just like, oh my god, there was all the public stuff that came out later on, and it was just a very sensitive subject. Whereas with Bryan, it's almost like they're trying to goad him into coming back in a way, because he was mentioned an awful lot on The Bump, Corey Graves' The Bump recently. If you watched SmackDown this weekend, Friday night, they mentioned him again, time after time. Roman Reigns was boasting about the fact that he sent him packing. So it does seem as though WWE are trying to be as open as possible and be like, Daniel, you're still a part of the landscape. Please come back. We miss you. It's one of those things as well, because like he was doing interviews in the lead up to this departure, and he name dropped so many different companies, like talking about places that he wanted to go, potentially work in, and he even spoke about Kenny Omega, the current AEW and Impact and AAA mega champion, got all the belts. He mentioned him, he talked about him, he said he thinks Kenny thinks about pro wrestling in a unique way, and he was even teasing potentially having a match against the Cleaner like later down the road. So that again, that'd be a really cool thing, but it's just, I think Daniel Bryan at this point is probably doing the smart thing. He's just sitting back, he's just watching how everything falls, where all the pieces fall into place, and he'll make his decision. But wherever he lands, he is going to be one hell of an asset for any company. It's just frightening. So yes, we will see what the future holds for Mr. D. Bry. And now, kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum when it comes to SmackDown appearances, we've got Daniel Bryan who left and he's kind of ran his arc now on SmackDown. He's out of there. We have Mia Yim, who has officially joined SmackDown. That's a thing now. She's a part of their roster, apparently, according to reports. But she's still yet to make a debut. But apparently, on Friday night, she was set to make that debut. That was going to happen on the throwback SmackDown. We're probably going to get... We didn't know we were going to get Mia Yim or Reckoning. I think that's according to PW Insider. They said, but we're not 100% sure what character is going to pop up. Please, for the love of the wrestling gods, let it be Mia Yim, not Reckoning. I can't do with any more of this. So, yeah, we're not sure what's going down there with this SmackDown day, because apparently, according to Ringside News, she was backstage. She was there. She was on the blue brand, but they've now pushed this appearance back another week. So this apparently could have been down to the fact that they were short-handed staff-wise, apparently, like on Friday night. Like Bruce Pritchard wasn't there. That was a big absence. So that could have had something to do with it. Maybe they didn't want to try and pull off something so big, but they might have feared they would have mishandled it with less staff there, if that is a reason. I'm not 100% sure with that, but I think hopefully this happens sooner rather than later, because I think we need to strike right now and bring Mia Yim back as Mia Yim. Just have the character you had in NXT, bring that to SmackDown. She would be really good for that division right now. I think she's a body that you could use in that probably mid-card for a little bit, build her up, get her towards that main event scene. I think it could work out the absolute best for her, but we need to get her on TV first. So let's figure it out. You've got a week now. You've got a week just to figure out what you're going to do for this debut, get it done for next week, and hopefully we can review it on the SmackDown Review podcast. Plug. And we're going to round off this news today with a story centered around the king of blood and guts, the bloody MJF man himself, fresh off of, well, just being an absolute nutter in that match. If you watched the Blood and Guts match on AEW Dynamite, it was just, it had everything. I mean, the bump at the end, we're not going to go into too much detail about that now. You've had all that discourse throughout the week. This is a safe space. We're not going to talk about that. But MJF himself was talking to Steel Chair Magazine recently. He was talking just about his future in AEW. The guy is still 25. It's frightening that he's this young and he's just kicking all the ass, but he was talking about the fact that he's got another 3 or 4 years left in AEW. I think his contract runs out in 2024, 25, I believe. And he was asked in this interview, what does the future hold for you after that, once that contract comes to an end? And he said, I'd say I'd be near the end of my contract. I would be the AEW World Champion. I would still be a part of the greatest faction in professional wrestling, known as the Pinnacle. All of my brothers in arms would also have gold, and then at that point, the highest bidder, baby. So he's pretty much saying he'd have all the gold, he'd be the most powerful man in AEW, perhaps even in all of wrestling, and then he'd just be like, well, who's got the most money? Where am I going to go? It could be WWE, it could be New Japan, it could be anywhere. It could just go wherever his heart content, if that's a phrase you could use for that. Never mind. He said, me and my boys, we're willing to go wherever the money's at. It's that simple. Don't get me wrong, AEW runs deep in me. I don't want to leave. Stress that point. But I'm a businessman at the end of the day, and I can't help myself. If somebody's got an offer for me, I'm going to listen to it, which is the smart thing to do. These guys and girls in the wrestling industry, they don't have the longest prime years, let's say, of where they're the hottest things in the company. So you got to really make sure you're doing what's best for you. And if you got to play people off again, look at Brock Lesnar. Does it year after year. He just plays everyone off each other, gets all these offers on the table, and then Vince McMahon always comes in and just trumps them all with ridiculous money. So you never know. MJF might be in a position in 3 or 4 years' time where everybody wants him, and Vince McMahon comes calling and throws all the money at him, and then he just goes, nope, I'm going to stay in AEW just to spite him. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen, but I just love this. It's just brilliant. Number one, it plays into MJF's character, just being this absolute arrogant son of a gun who just does whatever he wants, and he knows his own value, and he's on one hell of a high after that Blood and Guts match. But then equally, MJF match for him. He's also just understanding how short your career is when you're at your peak anyway, and he just wants to get the best deal he can out of it for him and his guys. Obviously, if they're still together at that point, we know what the history of wrestling factions is. If it lasts 3 or 4 years, I would be very impressed. So we'll see what the future holds for the Pinnacle for MJF, but it looks like he wants to be the champion and he wants all the money. So I have been Gareth from WhatCulture Wrestling. This has been your Solo Sunday News. Let me know what you think of all these stories, obviously, in the comment section right down below. I want to hear about everything. What do you think of MJF potentially going to WWE at the end of his contract? What do you think of Daniel Bryan's free agency thing? Do you think John Cena is going to return? I'm not sure either. But yeah, just let me know what you think of all that. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, subscribe to all things WhatCulture Wrestling. Follow myself on Twitter at gmorgan04. Follow everybody here at WhatCulture, at WhatCulture WWE, and just click on everything. We've got loads of videos probably around my head right about now, so just click on them. Enjoy all the WhatCulture goodness. Have the best week possible, and you know what? I might see you here next week, and we'll do it all over again. Bye-bye.